Good morning, everybody. So yeah, we ain't got no news today. So as always, the rules state we don't take any trades or get too excited before the 6:30 open. Got 7 minutes until that takes place. So, looking at the bonds, we do see that this breaker here has been holding up, at least for now. That is, if this drops, that's not indicative of the indices going higher or the currencies going higher. But we see that my assumption for the currencies, at least for GBP USD, has beautifully played out. So those of you that are currency traders, there was a chance here to use the analysis and get in line with what the GBP was going to do. I think, it should be able to continue based on what we see so far unless something changes. And then we got the yields kind of sloppy. They do have like a bullish breaker in here. This up wick, this fair value gap. These are things that are holding in price so far. But then you look at the 5-year and we're kind of like sloppy, stuck in a range. So the bonds and yields to this day still are doing the same stuff that they've been doing in terms of correlation issues for the last couple of months, right? So because that's the case, we have to consider what's taking place, see if there's any moment in price where it can justify whatever decision we're going to make in the indices and other assets. But because the correlation is messed up, we can't put too much emphasis on the interest rate markets to make a decision. Because if we do, then we're never going to have a trade set up. If we only take trades during correlated moments in price, there's going to be a lot of things that you miss, and it's unnecessary. But hey, if that's what makes you comfortable, and that's like a rule that you don't want to end up breaking because maybe you've seen the effectiveness when things are symmetrical, then so be it. You don't have to trade outside of that. But there's a lot of times when things are going to be cracked in correlation. That's telling you something. What is it telling you? You need to lower your risk. Okay? First, part of the checklist when it comes to identifying high probability or low probability has to do with symmetrical markets. And if things are not symmetrical, if we are stuck in consolidation, if it's, the beginning of the month, if there's NFP, FOMC, any of the other, chaotic news events ahead of us, a lot of times that will lead us to moments like that, the low probability, high resistance environments. So that's not to say that that's happening right now for the other assets. For the interest rate markets, though, for the most part, we want to watch what's going to take place here. If the yields continue to go higher, will that translate to something in the DXY? We don't know yet. So far, it seems like the DXY is doing exactly what we talked about it doing. Okay, pulling up off this run lower, reaching into that bearish breaker on that monthly chart, also hitting the weekly fair value gap, and taking out this high here. So what's happened since we've done that? We've taken that out, and now we're aggressively repricing lower. So because that is still the case, we also have a new week opening gap in here. Or if you just wanted to look at it as a volume imbalance, that's fine too. But the volume imbalance seen here on this time frame, if the gray separators weren't in place, you could see that as just a simple volume imbalance. But what is that volume imbalance? That volume imbalance is a new week opening gap. Okay, so we want to see what's going to take place here. If price breaks this low, this becomes a bearish breaker, and my eyes and attention continue to go towards the lows here. This is a previous day's low. These here are previous day's lows. This is a previous day's low in there. Okay, what do you see in here? This is a relative equal low. Okay, Price triggered in stops above the high here in this fair value gap, in that monthly breaker, bearish. And, we see the delivery so far. Price traded up above the weekly open, gave a little tiny wick, but then, again, it's given up the ghost already and started really rampaging, at least for now, ahead of the 6:30 open. We'll see if that changes. I don't personally believe, given what we see so far, there's any reason to believe that things are going to change. I think things are going to continue to the downside. We still have a decent amount of stuff going on in the U.S. economy. So, yeah. So currencies seem like they're still going to want to go higher, at least for now. The DXY seems like it wants to go lower, at least for now. Targets equal lows down here, fair value gap. We have this gap in here. If it breaks that, this low to that high, getting down below this low, again, turns into a bearish breaker, like we identified here on this time frame. It's just, if we go down a little bit, we could see a little bit more details related to that, okay? This did also peak above this high. If this is left available, this is going to be intermediate term high. High up here, hit a fair value gap, hit this inversion fair value gap. So this is technically going to act as a potential balanced price range. Okay, so this whole area up here should continue to hold for a BPR. If that doesn't, and we break this high up here, what are we going to do potentially? What would the interest turn into? It would turn into us seeking potential further buy-side liquidity. We also have equal highs up here, but again, it peaked above this high and hit that weekly fair value gap, and now we've got this pretty solid response for now to the downside. And then we have this new week opening gap here. We also have a couple other new week opening gaps here. So price is consolidating somewhat, going sideways. Couple that with the fact that we're running through multiple new week opening gaps. That is an indication that we're in what kind of condition? A consolidation. Once it starts displacing through those areas and maybe sets up something like this bearish breaker I mentioned, then obviously we could start to consider that we may be starting to break out of the overall consolidation that we're inside of. Okay, so that's kind of like the mapping of conditions and what price is done, where it went to, and then where it's at currently, what's available to us. Something you want to pay attention to is the fact that this fair value gap is overlapped with the wick here. So if this is going to hold, right, and this move is going to send price lower, the mid portion of this wick here and this fair value gap should classify this low to the high of the fair value gap as a balanced price range. Okay, so it should be able to respect that and then continue to go lower. These are some things that we're watching to continue to confirm that price is going to, in fact, want to drop and continue to seek lower prices. Again, if that takes place and we continue to trust that, it looks like, as I mentioned, there's Friday's low here and this gap the price is reaching into after we took the buy side. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised, like I mentioned at the beginning of the week, if they wanted to come down, purge Friday's low, then look to want to run higher. All right, that's assuming that the DXY is going to obviously decline. So yeah, we're just going to keep these things in mind. JD, good morning. Tony, good morning. And good morning to everybody else that's going to hop on throughout the call. So yeah, so far, I hope all that makes sense. It's easy enough. We have a new week opening gap down here. There's one right here. Let's see, do I have it? I don't have it highlighted. Let me actually put that there for a minute. It's going to be important to be able to map where all this stuff is at, because we want to know our dynamic support and resistance levels. And again, like I said, if price is stuck between multiple new week opening gaps and just bounces back and forth, again, what is that telling you? It's saying that we're in consolidation. If correlation's cracked, what does that tell you? we're in high resistance, low probability, harder conditions to, get a grasp of. So what does that mean? That means you lower your risk. All right. For now, though, it doesn't seem convincing, like very convincing, that we're in a consolidation. We have rallied up. Seems like we're kind of in a hurry, or have been in a hurry to try to get up here. There's a lot of stops up here. There's stops above here, but this one's much more long term, I guess. Therefore, it has most likely more liquidity versus this specific high. Okay, we did hit this bearish order block. We are bouncing away from this fair value gap here. Only way I'm going to look to want to be overall short again, or try to frame out things that are running to the downside, is if we violate this low. You may ask why. Well, this high to that low, failure swing here, and then price getting above this should be able to create this high to that low. That whole range should be created as a balanced price range. Okay, this is called the type 2 dealing range. Me and my private community have been talking about that specific topic lately, and we have a little bit more to talk about here as well on the YouTube and in the free Discord. But this is one of two. There's multiple different things that have to do with balanced price ranges, from overlapping wicks to fair value gaps with an overlapping wick to overlapping fair value gaps, and a couple more. So it's a very deep concept. You don't need to know everything, obviously, to be successful. It's just a bit helpful to be able to identify things like that, which you are going to be able to do spending time with me. Okay, so yeah. So for now, that's kind of what we have. Price has gotten above this high. Taking the previous week's high, we're now retracing. Line in the sand for me, at least for right now. I would prefer to see us, if we do want to run a little lower, I want to take this Friday's low out. Okay, sweep that out, and I want to see aggression away from that back to the buy side. For the buy side, we also have fair value gap in here. See this fair value gap mixed with this one that overlaps it. It acted as a balanced price range over here. It's now being contested again after we have created a potential shift in overall sentiment from bearish to bullish, with DXY favoring downside, at least for the time being. So because it's being contested again, if it violates this high and that high, is there any interest or need to push a short just because it was bearish for a while? No. Shorts are reasonable if you're going to look at it from a counter trend idea, or like a short-term navigation to set up further buys, unless of course the scenario changes by this low getting taken. But you could still frame a short, right? I anticipated the price was going to drop to start the week, right? So taking that information, you could have went out and tried to frame something to go to the downside. That's fine. But again, you want to remember, we are potentially going to go lower to go higher. So if that's the case, shorts should be at half risk, and normal leverage can be on your normal leverage could be when you're going to the buy side, okay, versus the sell side, because that's the actual narrative. Okay. My freaking throat hurts. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're anticipating here. 630 has came out already. It's passed. We're in the open. Now we're looking for the macro. We're looking for this scenario, seeing how this is going to be treated. Let's flip around, kind of look around to the other indices. We do have S&P here with the Dow and the Nasdaq. That's triggered this retracement. So we're below the weekly open. So if the week does end up being bullish, we are going to definitely want price to displace and get us back above the weekly open. This is what we want to see, though, if we're going to be bullish, which that's been what we've been trying to anticipate since down here. And then for sure when it got up above here, and we participated all throughout this run higher, targeting this high. Mentioned before the fact, live, continuously saying the same stuff over and over, and it just magically has been coming to fruition for some reason, right? So yeah, we're going to continue to monitor what this low is going to do. I'd prefer us to sweep that low, then displace back to the buy side, kicking in line with the analysis we've been talking about recently, about how price seems like it has changed and it's got an interest to offer buy side delivery, unless of course we break down below this low. That is what kicks me back into more of a protracted long term, at least next couple of weeks narrative to be bearish. Only if we break this low. I wouldn't be surprised either if we drop down maybe to this wick midpoint. Maybe it tries to get in there. Maybe it goes into the wick, hits the quarter point, then displaces back above this volume imbalance. Right? Maybe it uses this new week opening gap in here as support. Maybe it's reaching for that to go higher. So far, there's nothing indicating, at least for me, to favor shorts over buys in a more large capacity in terms of how big the moves are. I'm looking for more large ranges to the buy side versus small retracements to the sell side to set that up. Okay. Again, either way, you can look at things either way and still be accurate. You got to keep in mind, where is the ocean pouring? Like, where are the waves leading to? Most of the waves, at least for the last 4 weeks, have been leading to potential interest for price to rebound and go higher. And that narrative has served us well all throughout this. We've been pretty much correct. So this week has started and dropped, so I don't think anything in here is showing us that is going to be off the table for price to go lower, to go higher still. Again, my line in the sand is 3 PD arrays to the downside. Which 3 PD arrays are to the downside, which is how we validate and invalidate an idea for a narrative. In this case, we got this wick, volume imbalance. We got a new wick opening gap here, and then we got the low. So if price was to displace and get below that, that's multiple PD arrays getting violated to the sell side. That shouldn't be happening if we're going to go higher. Do you see 3 PD arrays getting violated in here? That would have invalidated the buy. We do have a fair value gap in here, but we have the wicks in here. We have a low, right? It kind of just, went down there, failed to get down there. There was a possibility for this to just be a retracement, which we walked through live as well. But then, like I have been mentioning in the last couple of weeks, once we got above here, we targeted these equal highs. Once it got above here, we targeted the rest of this gap. Once it got above the gap, we targeted the high up here. And all of that has served us well. And DXY has also, in the same conversation, been tanking super aggressively, which does not favor the indices going lower. If you're looking at the overall risk on, risk off, how the markets actually work all together, it's promoting downside DXY for now, given what we see. And then the upside is being satisfied in the indices. Okay, so again, I would prefer to see us sweep this low. Let's monitor what the other indices are doing, and then of course, as we sweep that low, I'd like to see, in a very short-term capacity, price start to rally away from that, possibly target the high up here. This is a daily chart, so each daily high becomes liquidity. If we're going higher, okay, because before it gets to here or there, as I've mentioned, previous days highs and lows, weeks highs and lows, those become targets. If a week is going to be bullish, the previous week high, if that's available, it's going to most likely be attacked before anything else takes place to the buy side. Okay, it may do what it's doing here and decline, maybe sweep out previous week's low. Or, like in this case, it's going to potentially sweep Friday's low from last week, trigger that in because there's stops below there, and then use that liquidity to pair their buys with as they look to potentially take profit above each daily high, maybe even get excited enough to get up into these equal highs. Okay, this is for the S&P. And yeah. So does all that make sense so far? Let me look at the comments. We are not looking for shorts. Mind you, like I've mentioned, hopefully what I mentioned actually answers that question in terms of, shorts or buys. Adam said, "Hey bro, I'm new to your lives. I'm really interested in your Well, I'm really interested and appreciative of the fact that you're interested in my content, and I hope you get value. You can always ask questions. I'm always here to help. Definitely don't be shy about that. And if you feel you can add to the conversation, maybe there's something that in a decent capacity. Share your thoughts, because we're here to lift each other up. I'm not an egotistical person. I could care less if fame or any of that nonsense or recognition is a part of any equation. I'm just here to build community with people that want to trade successfully, and are interested in how this stuff actually works and how you need to operate, rather than just being a signal junkie looking for me to toss you a buy or sell signal, because that's not going to help anybody. And for most mentors, anyone that's just like demanding signals is frankly annoying. Okay. Especially when you've put in a lot of time to figure out how to call those signals and people come demanding things. Not saying that's any of you guys. Thankfully, that's been very minimal on this channel. It might be because of the way I carry the channel and the way I talk about things. But yeah, I have old ICT PDFs and videos I can send. Yeah, so I'm a charter student, so I have every single piece of content that he's ever created. So it's unnecessary, really. I do have that resource to pass on to any of my students if they do want it. But it's not going to really help the PDFs. The PDFs are basically just his videos saved into a PDF. So he made it so if you don't have the videos, the PDFs are kind of useless, because there's so many things that have to be expanded upon. And, he has mentioned that he did that on purpose. He knew people were going to leak it. He knew these things were going to happen. And for the most part, it was the greatest marketing campaign any person has ever done in the trading industry, because he hasn't had to spend $1 on ads. Yet almost everybody in the industry probably knows his name. So yeah, I appreciate the willingness to want to share that, but it's not. There's other things that are more important, which you spending time here, you'll discover a lot of new things, I'm sure. But yeah, thanks Adam for the question. Yes, I have an Instagram. My Instagram is WMG Trading on Instagram. I post a lot of different things on there as well. Would love to have you follow that. Participate in that content as well. But yeah, so is everybody aware or knowing what I'm looking for and what we're kind of going to focus on here? Notice I haven't been in a rush to go to the lower time frames, right? I'm not really, there's no news, so you got to be extra cautious, and higher time frame is what we're looking for price to satisfy. See this here, this reaction is what I'd like to see if we can run the low out, because that's Friday's low. Actually, Friday's low is here, so we've actually taken Friday's low. I'm glad I dropped down right now. So this may lead to something significant in here if we are going to look to see price go higher. We have this gap in here too, right? The volume imbalance. So this is for the S&P. So let's see what's going to happen as we move into this macro. It wouldn't be unreasonable for them to want to blow out this low. Whether you feel comfortable in terms of taking a short in this regard, obviously that's going to be your own prerogative. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong or right, because we could blow this low out. For me, though, I'm looking for the larger portion of the daily range, and that just may not set that up. We've kind of dropped down below the weekly open. We've also dropped down below the daily open, and we've seen price continue to march lower here into Tuesday, right? Tuesday, Wednesday has a 70% chance of creating the high or low of the day or of the week. London creates generally the high or the low of the day. And, sometimes it can also be created in the New York session as well, right? So for now, what I'm waiting for, I want to wait and see how this is going to behave if we can get displacement to the buy side, given the fact that the narrative has been moving more towards price running higher, given all the stuff we've talked about and stuff we've talked about as well during the last couple of weeks. And DXY, kind of what it's been doing, it's tanking. Again, that is not in any way indicative of indices going lower in any long-term capacity. Could be in a short-term capacity, as you can see. If you were looking to short to start the week, there's nothing wrong with that going against the narrative, because Sunday and Monday create manipulation. Excuse me. Sunday and Monday in the weekly range generally creates manipulation and consolidation. So that's generally what we go into every single week anticipating first and foremost. And, so that's kind of what I'm leaning on right now. So we'll see what happens. We do see this fair value gap here. So we're going to continue to monitor that. So we do have SMT at those highs. And obviously prices at this moment interested in dropping. As we're dropping though, and as this stuff has been created so far, we're going into a macro. So let's see what this macro can offer. Is the macro delivery going to be the catalyst used to push us down below this low I've been mentioning? Right here. Sorry if you hear my dog, it's losing his mind. So again, there's that SMT there. Price is dropping. I prefer, honestly, like I've been saying, for us to sweep these lows out and then in some capacity look to want to run higher. I did not notice, I think I did mention this, that there was SMT here. We were just on the higher time frame. So that's pretty interesting. Right, so this happened on Monday. We got lots of trendline liquidity, layered liquidity above. So yeah, we will continue to watch what's taking place here. I'm personally, again, looking for buys to set up in some capacity. Again, that's not to say that shorts were not available, right? I said that, you could look to want to target the sell side here as we look to set up further buys. But again, it just depends on you as the trader. Would you have been comfortable and built an accurate assumption around that idea for price to go lower and target this? Is your model present allowing you to engage that? Is time available, right, at the right time for delivery? Is that lining up with everything? If you have a yes to those questions, then obviously you can consider doing some type of execution if that's something you choose to do. I personally want to see if price can give us a solid run to the buy side. We have a regular trading hours gap up here. It's a very large regular trading hours gap. So given the fact that we're over 120 points, that may indicate the price could want to continue to target sell side. What sell side is available? This one that we've been talking about. All right, so yeah, we will continue to see. So if price is going to continue to drop lower, what's going to confirm that if we were looking to take an entry? Well, this low to that high, with price breaking down below it here, we have overlapping fair value gaps. If you go to, see if there's a time for, right here, this large wick, right, the low overlapping this candle's body should be able to keep price below the midpoint of it if we're going to continue to want to seek sell side liquidity for the Dow. Then this same thing here, right? Very similar phenomenon taking place here as well. And again, we're marching towards that low. So again, I want to see what happens once we sweep that low. But again, if this is going to continue and we're going to trust this, if we were in an entry, when price made this low, rallied up, this is actually also creating a bearish breaker with SMT at the highs. So that's something that could be a overall framework for you to have tried to participate. And then of course, that low down here, like I mentioned, and the run higher to the candle over here being created, overlapped with this range, should hold up to the middle portion of that range if it's going to, in fact, continue to want to seek sell side. Okay, so I'm personally, again, waiting to see what happens below this low for me personally to engage. Again, I always got to mention it. That does not mean a short is not available. You can go in and buy and sell at every moment in price if you understand dynamics similar to what I was just mentioning and continuously mention over and over. Because this is reading the story of price. Whatever your model is, whatever your goals are, whatever you're trying to do specifically as a trader is obviously going to tell you, what you should do or what you shouldn't do. Like this, for example, is going lower. I wanted to see it go lower. I said that there's a likelihood for it to blow that low out. I could have framed a short on that, but I want to catch a bigger move today. And, maybe it's going to run the low here and run higher, creating this as then a bullish breaker. That's what I would prefer to see. And then have price kick back in line with the overall higher time frame narrative that we've been identifying, which in this case is bullishness, right? It has rallied a good amount. So, obviously declining here is not too overly surprising. It is still Tuesday, so we still do have a chance for, this to be pricing in the low as we look to give a turnaround and continue going higher. But yeah, we are going to be very demanding as we have been. And again, if you did look to short, like I think a person asked a question, Dronalton, he asks, are we looking for shorts? I personally want to look for buys, right? But that doesn't mean, again, that shorts are not available. Clearly this here pretty much set up the YouTube model. If you're following the rules to a T, though, you would have missed this opportunity because nothing was fulfilled in terms of a fair value gap. So did you miss a move? No, right? If it didn't deliver to the fair value gap, did you miss the move even though we said that it could end up going lower? No, right? If it hit the fair value gap and you didn't execute, then maybe there's an argument to make that you did miss a move. Well, I'm personally waiting, and I'm more than happy to let price continue to deliver. Lots of you guys that have been with me for a long time have seen we've let like half the session print before we came to an idea that we wanted to engage, or at least an idea I wanted to engage. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because this move happens, like this doesn't mean that you missed anything. For me personally, this didn't set up an opportunity in terms of the model. Okay, so whether I wanted to trade this or not, it would not have offered it to me. It did not offer it. So, we are returning back into that potential bearish breaker here. So that's something I'm going to want to monitor. See, is there a better thing that encapsulates the wick? Yeah, so right there. So this here is a bearish breaker. Notice the wick here. That's a wick. It's got the fair value gap, right? If it's going to deliver this as a bearish breaker, and it is going to, in fact, look to want to dig deeper, it's not going to want to dig too deep into this bearish breaker candle here. Why? Because breakers create balanced price ranges. Okay? And when there's like a fair value gap way up here or an order block way up here, but you see the breaker candle forming, because of the order in which IPTA seeks the PD array matrix, right? And each PD array in the PD array matrix, the order in which it seeks it determines whether something's going to be left or not, for the most part. Like, for example, the upper portion of this fair value gap is most likely not going to get traded to, or an order block up here is not going to be traded to, because the breaker's here. So this breaker should hold price if it's going to want to continue dropping, and it should leave most of this available, because this run higher to the run lower that set up this breaker should be able to create this as a balanced price range, right? That's what breakers are. That's what order blocks are. They're creating balanced price ranges. That's why they hold up to the midpoint, because BPRs hold up to the midpoint. But if it's violated through that midpoint, is it really a balanced price range? Or is it really a valid breaker or order block? Since that's the rules, if that gets violated, absolutely not. It would be invalidated. So far, though, right, we're watching this, and it seems like it wants to hold here. So we're going to watch. And if it breaks this low, that may set up an opportunity to participate and go a little bit lower. I'd prefer it not to do that. We also have an order block here. Like I said, BPRs are created by breakers and order blocks and a couple others, like the type 1 and type 2 dealing ranges. Those also create balanced price ranges, which we are trading into right now, the type 2 dealing range on that higher time frame that we've been talking about. But you could see, like I was just talking about the balanced price range, when you move up in time frame, it's also a bearish order block. So that should act as a balanced price range along with that breaker, right? So you could look at it from this time frame too. It's also created a bearish breaker here. So multiple time frames are overlapping with the same pattern. So again, we're going to watch and see. Only time I'm going to look to want to buy, since I don't take turtle soup entries, because I don't see any reason to. Just it's not something that has fit with me. I'm able to identify them with SMT at higher time frame levels, but I choose to be more conservative. That's just me as the trader, me knowing myself. But yeah, if this is going to hold, it's going to hold and go lower from here. It's not going to want to dig up into here. This should be left open. But if it's going to go to the buy side, which is what I would like to see because of the higher time frame, I would like to see us start to rampage through this with little to no effort trying to hold it down. That would kick in my interest again to be engaging more short ideas. Buy ideas, which is what the focus is for me this morning. And again, just to make sure it's known again and not forgotten, just because I say that doesn't mean short ideas that you come up with that may have played out are incorrect. Okay? It doesn't mean that at all. I have students in my private community, even here, that take many trades outside of the focused narrative that I have, overall, right? They take that, they get one side, and then I'll get the other. Sometimes we, are perfectly aligned, so that's just the beauty in this. And that's why, you want to make sure you're trying to think independently. Okay. So this run above the high here, price breaking down below this, this is also going to be used as a potential bearish breaker, at least in terms of identifying what is taking place here. So if this is going to continue to drop, I like this response off the breaker here. If this is going to drop, it should be able to also continue to try to press through this. But again, narrative on the higher time frame is bullish. So I want to personally favor that. Just because I pointed this out doesn't mean I'm telling you to engage that. This is a little much because we're at a level that I want to anticipate price going higher from. So me personally, this is not something I want to take just because of the things that we have been talking about and what I'm actually anticipating, which is price looking to eventually want to go higher. We've hit the level that I said price could reach into, then give us our buy side response from. But again, I'm not going to be able to confirm that that's something I want to engage unless price starts to displace and show that it doesn't want to respect this. Otherwise, it could want to continue to go lower. Okay, so I'm going to stick to anticipating and identifying things that are going to support my buy side narrative. And, we'll see what's offered as a result of that if it comes to fruition. If it doesn't come to fruition within the next 45 minutes, then obviously there may be a consideration in my mind to look for shorts, because then that would potentially tell me that the narrative I'm looking for to play out may not play out. And I have no problem in waiting, as you shouldn't have any problem with waiting, But yeah, so make sure you're being independent in terms of your thinking. We're watching this breaker here. Let's see how this behaves. The breaker I pointed at down here hasn't really done much. It did kind of run through the high that should have set that up. But now we're going to continue to watch this. Let's go flip through some of the other assets. DXY. So DXY hit the low there. Let's see how price can behave from there. We've got this gap in here. So we want to see if price is going to be interested in getting below that. If it gets below this, uses this as resistance, then I'm very much behind the fact that we're still going to blow out this quarterly fair value gap we've been talking about, which has served us well, up until it started to retrace here. But even then, we were able to adjust. External range was taken, it retraced to internal, and now it started to deliver. So now we're watching what's going to take place here. The first presented fair value gap is, where's it at? I mean, it is right here. So yeah, we're gonna watch this as well. We're watching how the breaker holds. That looks pretty nice in terms of what I'm looking for. We'll see. We're still inside the macro. I can tell you if this low gets violated and we displace, it'll probably look to continue dropping, because then it'll be supportive of this bearish breaker, at least for the moment. If we do displace and get above this first presented fair value gap, again, that's going to be supporting our idea to try to go higher. Okay, and that's what I would prefer to see. This here is a pretty aggressive entry, at least from how I see things. Let's look at the lows, see if there's any SMT. There is SMT here. And there's SMT here at the lows as well, along with the highs. So again, when there's two SMTs to go off of, you use a DXY to confirm. What is DXY confirming? It's supporting downside delivery for the DXY, and that is supportive of this bullish SMT potentially holding up and pushing price through to the buy side. We have relative equal highs up here too that were left. That's something that I do like. Oops, I went to the continuous contract. And so we're going to continue to watch this. If this breaker candle that we've been talking about gets violated, and it gets like outside of it, it could act as an inversion. Almost every PD array has an inversion characteristic to it if it gets broken. All right, so again, this was interesting to me. If you are an aggressive trader, right, and we're ready to take a shot, that offered the minimums right there in itself. So again, I'm not here to put you in trades. I give you analysis, you do what you will with the information. You want to be here to become the signal provider. And I'm thankful that many, many people have had the chance to do that off their time with us. So yeah, I would prefer to see this hold if we are going to go higher. Again, if it breaks that, I could potentially look to set up a short idea if this fair value gap here ends up turning into an inversion. Then in that case, if that was going to be what it was interested in doing as a contingency to the buy side interest, which is what I'm going to continue to support, we could see we've tapped into this 4-hour fair value gap too. So I mean, we could potentially see us look to maybe dig into here if that is something that it's going to want to do. We do have the wick here, so this is still a piece of a fair value gap that has been left open, but it's now been tapped into. So if it does look to continue to drop and that fair value gap I just pointed out turns to an inversion, my target would then be the rest of this just back to the high of this candle here. But yeah, I'm going to continue to want to see price potentially go higher, see if I can make an argument for that. But we'll see. We can be flexible if it changes. There is a respect so far to this bearish breaker. We have a low, a high, displacement down below this low may end up turning that into something that could be worthwhile. Again, we also have this fair value gap here, but until that happens, if that was to happen, that's the only time I would be worried about that specific scenario. For now, I'm looking to see this go higher. If we go to the seconds chart, This looks like, in my opinion, a market maker buy model. So if that was to fail, again, that is another reason why I'd be able to be flexible and look to short, right? We're now breaking through that breaker, justifying the overall analysis that we've been talking about to go higher. And yeah, so first presented fair value gap is under attack. Right, so seems like everything is going to script the way that I wanted to see it go. This market maker buy model as well. If it fails, see it displaces below these areas here, then that again is a reason I would look to adjust. But for now, I'm still seeking buys. Accumulation, or first stage accumulation, second stage smart money reversal, first stage distribution. We're moving into a second stage distribution here for this market maker buy model and potential buy side delivery. So that is a framework that I like. So I'm going to look to frame something potentially here, and then simply look to target these equal highs. That's pretty beautiful, is it not? And then above that, I think there's even more. So yeah, this zone in here, price should be able to stay above this if it's going to be a second stage distribution, and it should be a fast move. We're still inside the macro. So again, I don't want to see these areas down here get violated. So here's a fair value gap there. Okay, here's a retracement again, back into the high portion of that, was it like a 15-minute bearish breaker? So we'll see what happens here. Let me throw up DXY. Okay. So yeah, we're going to see what this behavior is going to be. We have a fair value gap in here too. So we don't want to see this act as any type of strong resistance. We want to see that get quickly overlapped, which would then turn this into a balanced price range, as price would be moving higher here. Okay, that's how we would continue to confirm that this is going to go higher. But so far, everything seems to be, reasonably doing what we want it to do. So now, next phase of this, hopefully can end up getting us above this fair value gap here. We don't want to see it hang around in here too much. DXY is definitely dropping, so it's supportive of this idea. So let's see what happens. Moves start inside of macros, by the way, so preferably you want to see your move begin inside of a macro. Again, if this fails and gets below this low, interest for buys would be off the table for a moment until something kicked back in order. We have a wick here. Let's watch that. We're above the first presented fair value gap. Let's see if it can continue to support that. This continues to build trust behind the fact that we're going to go higher. These relative equal highs are pretty juicy. Should be a fast-paced move here that gets us up to the buy side if this is going to, in fact, continue to run higher here. It should quickly get outside of this fair value gap in here, because it will overlap it, creating a balanced price range. And price wants to be efficient. Okay, it wants to balance things out. And that's how it does it. In second stage distribution, that phase inside of the market maker model is ICT's favorite specific model to engage, because it generally has a characteristic of low resistance. So preferably we'd like to see that continue here to get us up above the high here. And then, once it gets up there, we'll see what takes place. But if this fails, again, and it gets down below here, since we're on the second chart, we have to go a little deeper for validation. But if it gets down below here, the interest to buy would be, again, off the table. And we would look to then try to short to maybe fill in the rest of this gap I showed earlier. So another 30-point run, right, offered there. Let's see if this can continue to hold. We don't want it to hang around here too long. If this is going to be, in fact, what we're talking about in terms of a possible market maker buy model, second stage distribution, staying above this area, it should be able to quickly run. We're on the seconds chart, so it hasn't been that long, obviously, but we'll see what happens. We were inside of this bearish breaker that we've been talking about from that a little higher time frame, but again, we've kind of got above it, so I wouldn't, disregard the fact that this high also has equal highs, and we got this framework that we're talking about inside of a narrative that's strongly bullish. At least it has been for the last couple of weeks. We started the week in a bearish capacity, and now it's hit a opposing PD array to that overall sentiment. So, pairing our idea to go potentially higher in some capacity at these lows is reasonable, but we'll see what happens here. DXY's still looking like it wants to drop, so we'll see how this wants to play out. Let's move up a little bit, see what's going on in here. So yeah, you see the overlapping fair value gap here on the DXY. If it is going to go lower and hold, this should be able to hold price lower. Otherwise, if it breaks through that, it's not going to be continuing to support certain things we want to see in price. Got an order block here. Let's watch and see how that behaves. Remember, we don't want this fair value gap up here to act like this for too long. If it does, the odds of this playing out to attack the buy side fall off the table. And it just gets more risky to see it play out, and it becomes less likely. So yeah, knowing that you're able to cut bait after price does specific things for too long. So yeah, let's see what happens. It should be able to get outside of this in a very short amount of time here. If not, and it hangs around, again, it becomes less likely and less likely, less likely. Notice how we came down, purged this low, still respecting the midpoint of this wick here, so that's decent for me to see. We got the DXY now aggressively repricing. Again, there's no news today, so yeah, let's see if we can get this to continue and get us up above that high. That's all I'm aiming for, is that high. I mean, this high is even okay. 20 to 30 points, that's all we're aiming for. We don't want to do too much. I don't really care about doing too much. So yeah, let's see what happens here. It should be able to quickly use that and get outside of the high here, outside of this fair value gap. There's a retracement here on DXY. This is a really nice response here for the framework that we've been talking about, aiming for the high. We'll see if that wants to continue. So there's a high here, low, higher high, right? It's technically created an order block. So that order block should be able to hold in price. Beautiful. Just like that. Target hit. And let's show y'all the business. Entered at the first presented fair value gap, trusted it, added another 2, anticipating we're going to go higher. Take profit was above this high. And as you can see, first presented fair value gap entry for me to that was 53 points. Not bad Not bad at all. Again, I'm not here to put you in trades. I hope that what we've talked about within this last couple of minutes, last 20, 30 minutes, has been pretty eye-opening, at least helpful in some capacity. You walked through my process, my thought process in the moment, what I wanted to see hold, what would continue to support the idea, what would invalidate the idea, specific areas in price that should launch price in a particular way. I said the second stage distribution, if it's going to deliver and do what we wanted, it should be quick. It should not wait that long. What happened? It delivered through, took out the buy side. As we said, everything that we've talked about, from price going lower to go higher, to entries that I hinted to, even down here, the one that I said was a little aggressive. If you would have entered that, and we're thinking independently, you could have got in there. All you're aiming for is 20 to 30 points. What's the point in trying to do too much? Obviously this could set up a much larger run, because we could have just caught the low of the week, right? Given the way that we navigate and put ourselves in position. But I don't care about that. Maybe you do. Just know that it's going to take time. The more time you spend here, the easier that's going to become. I have a lot of students that are making, or pulling down larger pip hauls than me, or point hauls. And that's totally amazing. I don't compare. I'm consistent as hell, and I prove it. And that's all that matters. I'm trying to pay bills. I'm trying to live my life. And that should be your goal too. I don't care about a Lambo. I don't care about impressing people. Hopefully this is impressive. It impresses me. But I hope it not impresses you, but leaves an impression on you that this is possible. The things we do here are extremely valuable, very accurate, very consistent, and I hope you can see that it can actually improve your life, or get you to the point where you can improve your life. Because that's my whole goal. That's been my goal from the start. This was an absolutely beautiful move. Look at that. Man, it's still, kind of gives you a starstruck feeling when you get to see this play out. And mind you, everything that I just talked about from start to finish, those key elements are what got me to this. The higher time frame narrative idea that I put on full display, no holding back for the most part, on Sundays, the process I used to get in line with the proper narrative, yet again, for the 100th week, for the almost third and a half year of me being public, it's proven that it works. I'm not ICT, but it works. Okay. The things that I don't use every concept ICT uses, but it works. And it's got so much proof for those that just take it upon themselves to go dig in and, watch what happens here in this community, what we share, how the focus gets narrowed down here, because I'm not a complicated person. It has to be simple, black and white for the most part when it can be, for me to succeed. And, I feel that I've done a good job of communicating that for many of you. And seeing your guys' success is amazing as well. It's more meaningful to me than my own success. Like I've mentioned before, I got my little brother learning this stuff because of the sacrifices I've made. I've got people in other countries. I got people that are young, some people that are 40 plus, that are students of mine. Always at the end of the day, give credit to God, first of all. And then, of course, ICT, can't ever take away from what he's done for so many people. He's given me the ability to make this more simple for you guys as well. Adam said, the prize in trading is not the money, but the ability to make money from the markets, an art that all gurus with Lambos cannot have. 100% agree. I want you to also add into that, this gives you the ability to help others. You know what I mean? It gives you the ability to put something in someone's hand and actually, give them some motivation that they can do it, because this is a beautiful industry, but it's extremely difficult because we can't get out of our own way, first of all, and then it does take time to get used to things, to really learn and master the art, like Adam said, the art of trading well, Okay, because trading well leads to profits. Like, as long as you manage your mindset, don't overtrade and over leverage, which are, many of the things that we talk about here on a regular basis. But yeah, Adam, I hope today kind of gave you a pretty solid understanding that you're in the right place. 'Cause, this happens all the time, which you'll see. Like I mentioned, I've been public for the last 3 years. A lot more this year and last year. So really, really, really focusing on YouTube. Simply because I saw, 3 or 4 people that watch me live start to improve just off of what I share through the videos I post on YouTube and the live calls I do. And not only that, I got to give credit to a lot of my students that are very, very lethal in the industry that come and join us. They're also huge assets to you guys. Like I always tell you guys as well, just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. Like the video, share the content with anybody you think can add to the conversation or can just simply give value and maybe improve upon things that they're trying to do in trading. Bring them too. I like having people invite people that they know, because that way, that type of marketing brings a more cohesive, more serious, effective community together. And it's more meaningful. And that's what I'm here to do, is build meaningful connections, get around people that truly want to succeed, give them whatever wisdom I have that's led me to where I'm at, and then have them maybe pass on the blessing to others as well. Whether that's your family, whether you have kids and you want to pass it to them. I started trading with that goal in mind, and I'm to a point now in my trading where I can also look to pass that on, because it feels really good to know that you can bring someone that you care about to learn this and actually be an asset to help them also get to where they're trying to go. Obviously there's, one step that has to happen before another, like we got to master it first before we go out and teach others, which may take some time, but it's a worthy endeavor, whether that's you helping friends or anybody else. Again, for those of you that may have entered late, you did miss our participation. We engaged this higher. We talked this whole entire move, from start to finish. So yeah, with that being said, let me actually provide this too, because I know a lot of people are skeptical. Like, who's this guy on YouTube that I just found with some small followers? Tradeovate. I have a funded account. Then I also have a AMP Live account, which I haven't been using the last 2 weeks much, because I've been focused on my funded account, Endeavor. But I can show you that as well for those of you that are new, that I do in fact have a live account, a normal live account. Let's pull that up real quick. So give me 1 second, guys. Again, I appreciate all you guys that are hopping on. It seems like more and more people are coming to the community. More and more people, as a result, are also improving upon their trading, which, again, that's my whole goal. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to sell you a dream. Of course, I do sell education, or not even education, but experience. If you want a more one-on-one capacity, I can't do that and live my life like I want to if I'm continuously teaching people one-on-one all the time. So there has to be an investment in order for me to be able to do that. And if you think about it from reality, you'd think the same way if you've put in half a decade of nonstop trading, ups and downs, digging through your own battles, and then you come out and trying to help others. You'd obviously want to, be compensated for that because of the work you've put in. And, there's no substitute for experience and someone that's willing to teach for a reasonable amount, which mine are the lowest possible fees that can be in the industry, compared to some people charging $10,000, $5,000, or even $100 a month. I don't even charge that for my private community, which 99% of people do. I keep it low on purpose because that's not my goal. My goal is to get people in here that are serious, that want to learn this, that aren't signal junkies, and I can build relationships with, And I feel like, mind you, my students are the reason that I have a private community that has a paywall. I was teaching for free until like a vast majority of my students were like, why are you giving this for free? Like, are you crazy? Because they see people come and be disrespectful and, waste everybody's time and distract everybody and all that. So, from their advice, the private community was born. So I'm grateful for them as well. And it's all set up in ways based on their needs, their issues, and how they wanted to see me organize it for others. I got my AMP Live account here just to show you. I do have a live and a funded account. I'm probably going to go for a couple challenges here in the near future to add on. I see everybody stacking funded accounts, so why not make the most of it? But yeah, got off on a little rant there, but it's very important to know that you're in the right place. And I'm not one that's going to shove my profits down your throat and, hey, look at me, look at this, to get attention. You could simply come and watch what I do and put 2 and 2 together and figure out if the consistency's there, if I'm hitting these things, if my students are successful. I mean, you could put 2 and 2 together, I'm pretty sure. People with 2 brain cells, they could rub together, can piece reality together in that regard. Shouldn't anyone that's shoving their profits and screenshotting this and saying, hey, look at me, I made this much and that much, they are looking for validation, unfortunately. And, it's good for marketing, I'm not going to lie. But again, I'm not here to do what everybody else is doing. I'm here to make quality students that can rely on themselves. And then, if they choose to hang around, they choose to hang around because they want to hang around, because a community is cultivated in a way that is valuable to them. So that's why things are ran the way they are. But yeah, for anyone that joined late, again, we went and captured this, called the entire move up and down. And, a student did mention shorts earlier, which again, I said, it wasn't a wrong idea because the target I wanted to see, as you could see, was met, right? It hit the target I was looking for. But from that area, I was looking for buys to set up. And isn't it amazing how we basically predicted the future to the T, exactly how it was going to play out? It did exactly what we said it was. The first execution was here. It was the aggressive one. I did mention it was aggressive. I can tell you I was pretty close to pushing an execution on that, which is why right when it passed through the first presented fair value gap, I used that as an indication that it was probably going to continue. So my execution was in there, and then I added another one in here. Stop was below this fair value gap. Why this fair value gap? Because none of this should be targeted because there's already both sides traded. And if it was going to reliably run higher, and do what we wanted to see it do, which it did here, it should have left that. And guess what? It did, right? It left that. Why? This is also, similar reason here too. This height of that low should create a balanced price range. So it's not anticipated that this is going to come all the way down into here to reach into these levels. It should give a shallow retracement. If we are going to continue going higher, it should give a shallow one in here. Maybe it shifts market structure again up here. And that could end up leading to another buy scenario in terms of continuation, as long as we can continue to identify reasonable levels to the buy side for it to target. We have a fair value gap up here. We got multiple relative equal highs here too. You see that, so that's a reason for us to want to maybe frame a narrative to continue going higher. DXY is supporting that as well. So if you missed everything, watch for the YouTube model sequence to come into play here, right? Maybe it won't be on the 1 minute. Maybe it'll be here on the seconds chart. We got this large wick. Okay, so I'm going to watch the midpoint of that as price delivers through sell side in here. But I don't want to see it break too deeply into this range because, again, this should act as a balanced price range. Okay, and what else is available? This up candle here, drag that over, has now became a bullish breaker. Okay, so that range in there, I wouldn't put it past it to come down into there. It may not, right? Because it seems like it's in a hurry. So it may just continue to use this and run higher. I could tell you if I was going to get back in and participate, if I haven't already, I would definitely like to see us run below this, tap into that. Then look to set up the YouTube model or another breaker here on the seconds chart to then look to seek even further higher prices. It seems as though we've shifted market structure from that 15-minute, right? So we did give a nice shift above this high. We even almost created a shift in market structure here on this 1 hour chart. So move that up into here. So let's see what that leads to. All right, so we got high, low. Price has gotten above the high. So this also, from this high to that low, you could take this and put that as a bullish breaker too. So there's a bullish breaker here down at the 5-minute for this specific area. But if you miss that, right, you can move simply up to the 1 hour chart and you can identify yet another bullish breaker and a shift in market structure inside the underlying narrative that we've came to a determination on, which has been price going lower to go higher for a bullish delivery. And that is beautifully playing out so far. So that is the school of thought that we've been operating within. And as you guys have seen, there's been a decent amount of opportunity. I can guarantee you that very soon I'll get a message in my private community saying they got to sell. Okay, beautiful. Here's my little brother. Like I mentioned, he's been learning from me. He's in the private community as well. Look at that beautiful run. He took a loss over here, I'm assuming, but that's beautifully made back. He took the aggressive entry I mentioned and took out profits all the way to 84. He got a bigger run than I did. It's pretty amazing. Let's see. Breaking down some more analysis. He watched. I see he's catching on. Beautiful to see. Okay, let me see. Is anybody else? Yeah, my students have been crushing it. This is one of my superstars here, Harley. He's amazing. He's one of those that's generally able to catch the other side. When I catch, like, say, a buy, he'll be on the side taking a short, and he'll go in and take a buy. And we're not playing games, right? We don't trade demo. We trade live accounts. Okay, so you should trade demo if you're not there yet or confident enough. But I can assure you that joining a community like ours, in the private community, or even in the free community, for what it's worth, you'll build confidence. You'll borrow experience. You'll be around a lot of people that are very supportive, that want to see you succeed as well. And you'll have a mentor in me that wants to see you succeed and literally has only one goal being public, and that's to help people succeed or get them in position so then they can succeed on their own. This is a student that joined me for 1 month because financially he said he can't really deal with it for now because he lives in a different country, where any type of fee that's a little bit higher than $50 could be kind of difficult for those individuals. But he joined me for a month and ended up from the start he bought a funded account. If I can find it again. Okay, he was following what we've been doing. These are some of the examples of what we've been calling out throughout the last couple of weeks, months. It's been pretty amazing. But yeah, that student Sebastian, just so I can give him his flowers and continue to congratulate him, he did absolutely amazing on his way to passing a funded account. Within 1 month of joining us, he ended up knocking down. Tyler, my brother. Wait, you're not a funded trader yet, actually, so never mind. But yeah, he spent 1 month, and this is the accuracy that he had. I mean, if you calculate this, I think it was 12 days profitable out of 13. Wait, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 11 out of 12 days was profitable. If you calculate that, that is a 91% accuracy / hit rate. Notice when he overtraded, it was a problem. He got away with some, right? But he's still learning. But nonetheless, the days that he didn't overtrade, he did very, very well. This is a perfect depiction, which is what I was talking to my private community about. This is a perfect depiction and example of what happens when you stick to the rules. What happens when you don't stick to the rules? What's the worst case scenario if you stick to the rules and take losing trades, which is 1 to 2 trades a day, no more than 1%, depending on your skill level. If you follow the rules, you can't blow out. Like this here, he probably would have passed it sooner if he would have just taken 1 or 2 trades here, right? So it extended the time it took, but I mean, he joined. Watch, let me actually let him say it himself. See, and here's the proof of certificate. Okay. There's his equity curve from before he joined, when he joined. Right? Just listening to us here helped him be more patient and only aim for the minimums. Right? That process got him a funded account. Okay. Let me actually go to where that is. He started this community, or started this challenge at the same time he joined the community. I mean, that right there is an amazing testimony. Like, that is one of the most amazing ones I've gotten in the last 3 years. It's amazing. I've gotten many amazing testimonials, which you can go see in the on my Instagram, and then also in the free community. You can see a lot of testimonials there as well, from both my private community and from my YouTube family. I mean, it's pretty amazing to see what these students have been able to accomplish just by being a part of this community. I had a student withdraw $5,000. I had a student quit his job this year, which I can go, let me see if I can find when he said. In 5 years, he got his first payout. Right, let me see. Yeah, watch, let me pull up when he said that he quit his job. Because that was an amazing testimonial too, if I could find it. If I can't find it, I think it was probably I think it was in a DM where he told me that. But yeah, nonetheless, for those of you that don't know, also, this is all the stuff that we talk about in terms of resources in the private community. We got a lot of old stuff, so you can verify what has happened, whether I'm being truthful or just blowing smoke up your ass and lying. I'm not, just for the record, save you time. But if you do feel inclined to join the community and you want to double check and triple check and make sure that everything is what it is, even though I show accuracy and consistency live every single week, every day, for the most part, and I show losses too. I'm not perfect. But you can also go verify how long this has been taking place, how long we've been doing this same exact way, and just only improving every single year. So you can go do that. Talk about taxes a little bit for those in America, because that's the only tax code I know. How to structure things like a real business, get the best benefits, and then how to run this as a full-time trader or a part-time trader. All those resources are there. I talk about funded accounts, how to manage funded accounts. When you get one, that's when that conversation takes place, because it's different. The mindset's different. And most people don't have someone telling them this, so they treat a funded account challenge the same way that they treat a live account in their funded account. And what do you know? They blow their account and have to do the process all over again because they don't have the proper structured mindset and how you need to adjust the way that you think when you're in a funded account versus a private account. See, what did I just say a second ago about Harley? Okay, shout out Harley, dude. I just thought it and then said it. And yet again, he caught the opposing side of the trade. I think he took this as a small win here. Maybe got stopped out. But I caught this. My brother that I just showed you guys caught this. The narrative is what it is. Everybody knows what the narrative has been. And he caught the opposing view. I said it from the start. Just because I wasn't looking for shorts doesn't mean you shouldn't. because the framework was to go lower to go higher. If you felt comfortable catching the lower run, cool. Harley, I didn't even know he did this. He just posted this at 7:38. Okay. I said, someone in my private community is probably going to message me and say they caught the other side while I caught the buy side. We're able to navigate both sides consistently, continuously. Not only me, but my students. And this is a live account from a student. Okay? Like the things that we do here is incredible. Honestly, every single day just makes me so like grateful, honestly, because trading is lonely, you know, and you don't have a lot of people that can relate to you. And if we're in here able to pass on skills to each other and build a tight-knit community that's thriving like the one you see here on a daily basis in my private community, but every week in the YouTube family, I mean, it's just amazing. You know, look how detailed and accurate he is. He's only been trading for a little bit over a year, but he started with me like, you know, about a year ago, you know, almost at the same time he started trading. And look at what he's accomplished. Well, most of you guys that are new don't really know Harley, but he's just a beautiful testimony. Aside from the hundreds of testimonials I've had, you know, don't let the small number of followers fool you. We outtrade most of these people, just my students alone, let alone me. We outtrade most of the people on YouTube. You know, most of the people out here, you know, and that have these huge followings that are scamming people, that are, you know, making people turn into signal junkies. So they're continuously, you know, at the will of what the mentor is going to do, which is something I combat in my community. From day one, that was the goal. And I'm so grateful, first of all, to God and obviously to ICT, and myself, obviously, that I've been able to get to where I'm at so I can do this or help people get to this point on their own. I didn't tell him what to trade. Shit, I didn't even tell y'all what to trade. Okay? And I'm sure some of you guys that are in this community on YouTube alone took an entry. You know, I don't promote you to do that, especially if you're learning, because this ain't financial advice and I'm not a financial advisor. But, you know, again, you could put two and two together, you know, gain the skill set by spending time here, you know, get involved, and, you know, you'll see improvements. You know, at a minimum, you know, I can guarantee clarity can be achievable, but you are responsible for making yourself profitable. I'm not. Okay. And if you fail, it's not my fault. There's so many, and it's not ICT's fault either. You know, it's always going to be you, and you look at things that way, and it allows you to improve versus you putting the blame on outside influences, making it so you don't have the power. You know, it's very important to think about that and change that way of thinking if that's something you, you know, resonate with in terms of that being a problem. You know, maybe you catch yourself blaming everybody else or the market's the problem. No, the market is amazing. Even now, even through all the tariffs and chaos that's been taking place. You know, if I was as good as I am now during COVID, I probably would have said the same thing about COVID delivery too. It was sporadic, but what does that mean? That means that there is a ton of opportunity, you know, so let the market shake the markets up. You know, as a new trader, it seems a little scary, but you get around people like us, you know, you study things like ICT shares, you know, you get around the right people, you will not fear anything, okay? Because there's nothing to fear, you know, but there's a whole lot to gain and a lot to be excited about, you know, much more to be excited about than there is to fear. Okay. So yeah, you know, just a reminder, you know, again, if you get value from the content, if you like the stuff that we provide, definitely do me a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It does a lot for the channel so I can reach people just like y'all, and I can continue to be on this mission of, you know, helping as many people as I can get to independence as a trader, similar to the way Harley is, similar to the way that Sebastian is that I just showed you, similar to the way that my little brother's learning, who's, you know, not even 21 yet, similar to NJ, right? Niao. He's one of my students too that's on his way. You know, similar to one of my students named Maddie. You know, all these traders, and then, you know, a bunch more, including some people like Tony on my YouTube channel, like Fritz, right? There's a student that recently joined named Fritz who also has been learning a lot as well, and many more. They're all thriving since they've been here, at least learning and moving towards their goals. Again, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share with people that you think can give value or add to the conversation, and just become part of the family. That's much appreciated as well. Because again, this is all to help you guys improve. I'm not here to toot my own horn. That's why I don't do a lot of this crazy marketing stuff that just shoves my profits down your throat. I could be showing you my $10, $20, $30,000 days if I wanted to, but why am I going to do that? You can't spend my money. You can't do anything that has to do with my finances. But focus on the skill set and watch what happens. I can't be here guaranteeing anything because that's illegal, but I can guarantee clarity because that's the goal here in general. And I feel like we do a phenomenal job of getting students to that specific time in their trading. So like I was mentioning, let's go see if some of the stuff I was mentioning here for a continuation played out. I did want to see us drop a little bit more, but clearly it just decided to not do so. So let's actually point this out real quick. This looks kind of cool. So you see this high here, right? Notice how that perfectly aligned. Okay, this is a beautiful learning lesson, so pay attention. Okay. First, let me check chat real quick. My brother said, yeah, I took a sell to target the daily for value gap, but got stopped out. Okay. Then when it got hit, I used it as a launching pad for a buy. Exactly. Perfect. Totally in line with the thought process that we've had this morning. I'm super proud of you, bro, as I tell you all the time. You can really see how everything is setting up going into the rest of the week. Move. Yeah, absolutely, Tony. I'm glad you think the results are amazing, brother. You're amazing too, bro. You've been letting me know a lot of amazing updates. You're another one that passed funded accounts since you've been with me, just on YouTube. You've been showing it in the free community, and I'm grateful that you've been confident enough to do so, because it really provides proof of concept for those that may be on the fence, and it also just builds motivation for those that look at results and like to see others succeed. And there's relative equal highs above the midnight open. Yeah, there's relative equal highs up there, but we're gonna have to see. We are inside the 750 macro, so I want to continue to see how the DXY is going to want to behave here. I also want to see how this is gonna, what that's gonna turn into. Bonds and yields are still not really too heavily leaning towards supporting buys. Excuse me. But we'll see if that has any influence. It hasn't really had any influence so far. But we may see a retracement here for the indices. Again, we have a bullish breaker here. The only time I'm going to look to adjust my thought process, only thing that would kick me off the buy side train is if price breaks through the breaker here, because then that would turn this into a invalid balanced price range that should hold price. But yeah, speaking of balanced price ranges, like I was pulling your attention to, you see this wick here? You see how it came directly to this wick and it left a portion of this fair value gap open? That's because this was a balanced price range up to this wick high, because this overlapped part of that fair value gap. So isn't it ironic that the lower part of the fair value gap that was overlapped by this wick here did not have to get traded into, and look how price algorithmically left it open. People ask the question all the time, why do fair value gaps get left open? How can I anticipate it? Things like this, right? If that's available, most likely it's going to leave it open, right? Balanced price range, right? If you see a BPR set up, but there's a fair value gap inside that balanced price range, like for example, this fair value gap, right? Or let's say this one, because we broke out of it, right? This fair value gap is left open. Why? because prices already created this balanced price range. So it has no need to trade down there. And the wick here, and here, and here, all overlapped that fair value gap. So there's no need. Notice it didn't even come into it at all. Okay, so what happened? It just shot up. I could have held this, obviously, and yet again, it's an example of us getting in front of a move that ran over 100 plus points. Again, I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm here to show you that you're in the right place, and consistency can be achieved, success can be achieved through the minimums. Okay, and the things that we talk about continuously deliver. Okay, so we're going to continue to watch this. This overlapping fair value gap here, right? This little area in there, if it is going to give a deeper retracement, it shouldn't come back into this. If it displaces and breaks through that, my brother mentioned there is relative equal highs above here, which is the open price. If it violates this specific area, maybe turns the fair value gaps in here into a balance or into a inversion level, right? Like say it displaces above this, maybe even above this. That may end up being used as a balanced price range that's now turned around, but also could be used as a potential inversion idea to then continue to send price higher. Only way I'd be interested in shorts is if this breaker area in here gets violated. What would the framework be for me to want to frame out something to the downside if that was to take place? Well, similar to how I framed this as a market maker buy model on this seconds chart to go higher within the narrative of that higher time frame. If this does choose to displace and break through the breaker here, that should continue to act as a balanced price range. I would, look at this as a market maker sell model in that case, right? If this was to break, so then my framework would then turn these lower levels down here into a second stage distribution if price was to get down there. But otherwise, right, if this continues the way it is, I would like to see a displacement back through these fair value gaps, give us some type of model we like to engage somewhere in here, and then look to potentially ride it out back to the buy side. That's what I'm going to favor in terms of what's going to take place, what I want to see take place. I would like to favor that scenario over this downside because obviously the buys have been favored up to this point. Notice we've hit the regular trading hours gap. That's what this box is and what this red line here is. Right, notice how that was targeted beautifully. So, looking at things from hindsight, the entry that was down here or down here could have obviously used this as a first layer. And then, of course, this regular trading hours gap midpoint could have been the final layer for this particular run. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I do want to ask also, those of you that have been here from the start of the video, all the stuff that we've talked about, maybe some of the things you guys have heard today has been the first time you've heard it. Some of you guys, this just sounds like continuous repetition of the same crap over and over and over, and it just works again and again. But if there's anything that we've talked about this morning that was either, super impactful to you, or, something that, may seem a little complex that you feel I should look to amplify, I'd like you to leave that as well in the chat so I can get a feel for where everyone's at. I know some of you guys are here continuously, and a lot of this stuff probably just makes sense. And good morning, Charlie. Sorry I didn't see your message. Sorry I didn't say it earlier. But good morning, brother. Appreciate you hopping on again. There's a March new week opening gap within the regular trading hours gap high. Let me actually go see. I'm grateful that you're using. You're still referencing things even from previous months as well. March prices here. Talking about this one, I believe. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a pretty good new week opening gap to identify. The way that I organize new week opening gaps too, if I want to put a bunch of them on, the ones that are previous, I'll make the line very small and a lot of times dotted, so it doesn't really take a lot of space. right? So yeah. Yeah, if you guys can answer that question I posed to you guys, what is something that has been super impactful this morning? And also, if you can mention, for those of you that may have heard some stuff for the first time or confused about some stuff, what confused you, and what would you like me to consider amplifying? So yeah, definitely, if you could answer that question so I could know how best to serve you guys, because again, that's the whole point in me being here. I'm not trying to be a circus clown, I'm trying to, just perform like some entertainer. I'm here to try to get y'all to learn. And I have to know where you guys struggle and what you guys are also succeeding in, so I can know exactly what to amplify based on my community. So yeah, we now have London's low here. I believe, yeah, London's high was taken at that 1 hour shift in market structure. So I didn't mention that, but you can see how that perfectly aligns. London's low down here, then London's high is up here. Again, I appreciate your guys' time here. I have seen some people hop on and hop off. Sadly, they probably missed some stuff or felt they missed some stuff. But yeah, it's good to stick around because there's a lot of things that get talked about. At any moment, we could pull out an opportunity that makes sense, that I'd like to see. Because in the market, there's opportunities popping off the chart at me pretty much the whole entire time I'm looking at the chart. And I prove it, right? I talk about many, many, many entries all the time, but there's only a certain select few that I look to engage, one or two specifically. And sometimes I'll let things go. Sometimes the move that I let go, like you guys saw today with the short, I showed you that, one of my students took a short while I was looking for a buy. So that stuff takes place all the time. And it's just a beautiful testament to the fact that your time here is heavily focused on making you independent thinkers. You're not tethered to me or the community, and hopefully, in a couple years, maybe sooner, the community will be filled with people that just want to be here and provide value because they want to be here, rather than needing to, be tethered and get someone to tell them what to do in terms of where price is going to go. Of course, there's no problem with that. That's why I'm here. But I can imagine that if I was still solely dependent on whether, ICT was going to give me an opportunity or not, there's no future in that in terms of being full-time or making this something super valuable to us. It just puts the value in the other person. It takes power away from you. And that's, it's unfortunate. I don't want to cultivate that. Some people want me to do that, but I'm not going to do that. There's always going to be someone else on YouTube that wants to make you worship them. That is just not going to be me. I want you to worship yourself and God. Outside of that, I'd like you to be here because you want to be eventually. But as you guys are here, that feel you need to be here, I'm going to make sure that you get all the value that I can possibly provide to you, especially here in my over in my private community, and in the free Discord. For the most part, there's just more time, more support, more live calls, 5-6 days a week, sometimes every single day. Doesn't mean we're taking a trade every day. But for the most part, we find things every day in every condition, whether CPI is available, FOMC, NFP, risk just gets lowered. Sometimes we'll take a loss, but that's just part of the game. But the market can't get away from us. We corner the market in such a way, given the tactics we use, that, at any moment there could be an opportunity. Something I'm watching here also, just to get back to price action, this is a bullish order block. I do like how that looks. but it is on the 8-minute. So I'll map that out. We got a new week opening gap up here too. My brother did mention the equal highs. He was absolutely correct. So given what we see here, I think that's where we're headed. Unless, of course, it breaks down, it comes down here. But even then, unless this breaker fails down here, it's going to continue in my mind to look for buy side. I do not like how DXY has been acting this morning. For the most part, it has been doing what we wanted to see it do, which is decline and support buy side delivery. Notice the BPR identified in here respected the midpoint, as it should if I'm correctly identifying these things. If that was to be violated, or if price goes from these lows, this gap down here that I have highlighted, and then it breaks above the highs up here, getting through the balanced price range, that then makes me concerned for these upper targets from the daily fair value gap to a quarterly, aka a 3-month order block. And then, of course, the rest of the breaker. We got also the weekly fair value gap. So there's many things above us if price did want to run up higher that we could frame a setup off of. And that's aside from previous days' highs and lows, weeks' highs and lows, months' highs and lows, session highs and lows as well that we use for targets. But as long as this continues and we stay below these levels, there's zero reason for us to not trust that price is going to go lower. And in turn, should end up pushing this higher. All right, and again, we have this bullish. So we had a breaker here. Notice how it's also an order block. Right, I talked about breakers setting up balanced price ranges, order blocks setting up balanced price ranges. So that's why they should be respected. And we could see also this is a bullish breaker here too on the 1-hour chart. So we had 3 layers of breakers. One on the seconds chart down here, one on the 15-minute here. Actually, let's scroll through that real quick. All right, so, oops. Oh, actually, this was a, so this here was the bearish breaker that I said if it breaks through that, it's going to continue going higher. Once it got up into here, we then mapped this out as a market maker buy model, right? Obviously, I engaged in there as it came back. But this breaker can actually be moved down to this up candle. Okay, so this here became a breaker as well. High, low, higher, high, balanced price range. Did it respect it? Yes. Midpoint never got traded to. As a result of this breaker being what it is, it left the fair value gap open because it's a balanced price range. Okay, and then price ended up aggressively running higher, broke through this fair value gap, creating a balanced price range there. Once it broke above this high, this whole range became a balanced price range. Has it returned back into that? No. So what's the reason anyone would have to try to aim for a short in here? None. There's no reason except them just trying to demand that it does what they want it to do when they could simply just adjust. Obviously, having this information makes it much easier, and then practicing it and seeing me do it and stuff like that over and over, it'll just become a part of you. But you can see a breaker here, and then again, if we go to the 1 hour, it's also a breaker here. Whoops. So isn't this amazing? This is called PDA layering, right? Time frame to time frame. You could see how order flow is being painted here using a PD array. One, I'm only identifying one. Obviously within that there's fair value gaps, order blocks, whatever. And then of course balanced price ranges that are creating all throughout here, continuing to support price running higher. We do see this is a bearish order block. So let's see, this is an opposing PD array. This opposing PD array in the form of a bearish order block as prices rallied up may be the catalyst to send us down into this bullish 1 hour breaker. And then we'll see what happens here. It should not have to trade too deeply into that, because again, if this is going to be an actual valid breaker that continues to push price to the buy side, this high to that low should be a balanced price range. So we should be able to map this out from low or from high to low. And the line in the sand will be down here inside the middle portion of that balanced price range, aka bullish breaker or bearish breaker, right? If we were going lower, right? Hopefully that's a simple explanation for that topic. It's a very confused topic in terms of balanced price ranges. This is a thing that ICT held back for decades. You know, when he says, "Oh, people don't even know what an order block is," that's what it is, right? It's a balanced price range. Breaker, it's a balanced price range. That's what they are. You know, he hasn't came out blatantly said that, but you could just see the dynamics I've described here. You know, he hasn't said it publicly, I should say. You know, different story with the private community he has, but yeah, it just makes sense, right? That's why they're respected. But people see things differently, so naming them different things, finding the different sequence of events that takes place to form the balanced price range, he took that and put names on it. And it's pretty creative, if you ask me. It's a genius, if you ask me. So, you know, for those of you that don't know that fun fact, there is a fun fact for you. Right, so, yeah. Amazing day. So let's go flip through the other indices. I don't like how we're overlapping like this. Right, this candle's just overlapping. It has kind of given a response here. I believe it did run Friday's low. If you go back on the Sunday's call, I talked about this. So everything that's taken place from higher time frame analysis to this point, to the lower time frames, pretty much every single thing we have identified for price to do has come to fruition. Every single one of them, right? You know, not one thing has been invalidated throughout this whole week so far, which is pretty phenomenal. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can go and watch the Sunday call and rerun this entire video and watch the things that were being talked about and see how things unfolded and see what I was watching to support the ideas and watch how everything came together and led us to the run higher, which some students, including myself, participated in, as I mentioned. Right, so again, I can't remember if I mentioned this, but this wick here, overlapping this fair value gap, let me move up a little more too. So got this large wick here too. Got this fair value gap. Do I have that labeled? No. Yeah, this low, if it was to violate this low, that becomes a bearish breaker for the DXY. For now, though, I'm going to do this. So in order for this to continue going lower, or at least for us to trust that, you know, near term, within the, you know, within the session or within the rest of the week, this is going to go lower as a result of this decline from this monthly bearish breaker. In order for that to continue going lower, I would prefer if we could see price use this inversion fair value gap and the quadrants associated as dynamic resistance levels. And we will go down to this lower time frame. Look and see how so far it's delivered. So you see the 25%. Oh, wait. No, not there. So 25% is here. This is the quadrants within the fair value gap, the inversion. So the 25% here led to price declining. We've got this candle here, right? Low, high, lower low. Came back to it as a bearish breaker. Low, high, lower low. came back to it, used it as a breaker, delivered a run there. It's now punching into it a little bit more than I would like. But we are overlapped with a inversion fair value gap that I would like to see push price lower. So so far, as long as this high doesn't get taken, this breaker's still somewhat useful. It has traded outside of what I would have liked to see it hold, so that may end up being an issue. It may look to want to run higher, right? It may look to attack this high. All of this price action is still within that daily time frame. So because this is a 6-minute time frame, the daily narrative or bias is more important than whatever it is that is showing here on the lower time frame. This works within the higher time frame arguments that we look to employ and act upon. So lower time frame may conflict with the higher time frame's doing. In that case, you would support what the higher time frame's doing. You don't ever get fooled and put more value on what the lower time frame does. You always, under every circumstance, favor higher time frame narrative when you're looking for direction over what the lower time frame is doing. Even if you engage on the seconds chart, you guys see me engaging on the 15-second, 30-second, 1 minute, 5 seconds sometimes. If I'm really confident and want to really minimize the risk, and I have a clear setup, but always referring back to the higher time frame. People wonder probably, how are we so accurate all the time, every single day? And again, I could say that because you can go back and review. I'm not just saying it to say it. Kind of mentioning it because it validates what we're doing, and the time that you spend here, it also validates that you're not wasting your time, which I think people should be very, very focused on. Are these people I'm listening to wasting my time? Because we can't get that asset back. So yeah, it's just very accurate. And people ask how. Big 80-90% reason is because we're always rooted in the higher time frame. I've mentioned this before. ICT was asked a question in his private community. The student asked, where do you spend the most time? What time frames? What concepts? What do you spend the most time doing? And he said planning on the higher time frame. Figuring out where that's headed, so then when I go to the lower time frame, I'm calibrated to where price is going. So if higher time frame is bearish and I see the lower time frame chart going bullish, I could position my mindset from a lens where I can identify the run against the downside narrative on the higher time frame as a retracement. So my risk can be calibrated properly, my engagement is calibrated properly, and I know what I should do, and how long I should hold a trade, where I should be targeting, navigate the daily and weekly ranges as a result of that as well, within that context. So again, it's extremely important that you're going to focus on the higher time frame. That's why I always on Sundays never drop lower than sometimes the 1 hour. Most times we don't ever drop down below the daily. Sometimes 8 hour, sometimes 4 hour. But there's a method and a reason to why I do that, and the result hopefully is convincing enough to make you adopt that way of thinking as well. I have students that are that joined me the last couple months, and that is one of the biggest changes that they automatically can start to employ. That plus the risk management ideas that we talk about all the time. Those two things can be applied instantaneously, and you can get instant feedback, instant, evidence that the adjustment, and again, the time you spend here is worthwhile. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, DXY is just digging a little bit. Looks like we've had this beautiful run above the highs here. All buy side targets that I've been seeking this morning have been met from the 1 hour high. Seems like that's acting as the bullish breaker that it is, or that we identified it as. If you missed all the opportunities in here, well, guess what? A framework is now set up here as well to continue in that buy side delivery, which that's what we've been favoring. So again, just a beautiful example of the fact that you don't need to worry about missing setups. If you miss a setup on one time frame, just move to the next. Right, so yeah. So you got a failure swing up here. Let me go see what the other... that's pretty obvious. It's kind of stalled out in here though. But, now we swept the sell side. Buy side's beautifully available in a bullish scenario that we're looking to track down. Seems like we may have caught the tiger by the tail for the weekly range, potentially going higher. Obviously, today going into tomorrow will tell us that. But yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm still going to stick to the narrative that we've been identifying and talking about, which is continued buy side. And now, too, we have this 1 hour shift and bullish breaker. Also got this wick here, too. So I don't think we'll have to come down into there if we're going to go higher. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to trust at the moment. Check the chat. Deja vu, my limit order didn't fill today with 3 pip. Yeah, sometimes that happens. That's why I do market executions. I don't really like to do limits because, you never know. We can't be perfect. And I have the time to sit and watch the chart. So, I'll get in and sacrifice the perfection, not getting the exact price I want, just to make sure that I can get in. But, there's nothing wrong with limits. You may miss the moves, though. But that's okay, too. Appreciate you sharing Deja Vu. So we got, let's see, go to the 5 minute. So we got a bullish order block here, too, on the 5 minute. If price can get above that, I think that'll supercharge us to the buy side. It has pretty, solidly delivered. I don't personally think we're done, though. Again, my little brother pointed out those equal highs. So if we are going to continue to run higher, it's going to do some things that are worthwhile. Hopefully we can end up seeing it run through those levels. And hopefully the breaker here that I've talked about for that 1 hour, if we can go back. This breaker here, hopefully it can continue to punch price higher. Again, we do have this bearish order block here that may stop price and just allow for the run that's already taken place to be the run for the day. And then maybe we'll close a little bit down in here. Again, if we go to the higher time frame, it does seem like we are kind of chopping back and forth now. So that is a risk. Price has been extremely aggressive to the buy side. We've had some pretty crazy days like this here. So we are still in that type of condition. So you want to make sure that you're not doing anything too crazy. If you take down money, or take down a demo trade or whatever you're doing, take that and sideline and study. Don't do more than 1 or 2 trades, whether you're trading live or in a demo. What is the need to do more? If you can't get a trade that's profitable and hold it to something reasonable, within 1 or 2 trades, if you can't do that, then just sideline. Because you take more trades than that, you're inviting over trading when you do things live, and it's a very bad habit. And that bad habit can turn into horrible experiences that can really, really hurt you mentally, financially, and make this goal seem much more impossible than it really is. So, yeah. See, we got this inversion here. It's pretty nice. Very nice. Very nice. Right. right. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, how do y'all feel about that run right there too? What the hell? My chat was disconnected. What an idiotic situation. I was dealing with some tech issues this morning too. How do y'all feel about what just took place in here? Was that something that you could have thought about executing? If we go to the 1 second, watch, I'm going to show you something very interesting. Maybe not the 1 second. Maybe it's... Yeah, not the 1 second. Let's go to the 5 second. So, consolidation, accumulation, reaccumulation, smart money reversal after taking sell side, similar to what we saw earlier on that first run higher. We got first stage distribution, second stage distribution. How do we know it's second stage distribution? Because of how it trades away. Okay. And that was a market maker buy model again. And that market maker buy model idea ended up delivering through that buy side liquidity. Let's get off this 5 second chart. It's a little too much, for those of you that are learning. So yeah, you see all this layered liquidity here. I mentioned this earlier. Liquidity is layered. If we take, where is it? So another reason too why I was strongly trusting that we were going to see that run higher off the low was the fact that the day trading Power 3 projection tactic ICT teaches perfectly delivered within that higher time frame narrative to the second standard deviation, which is the limit. And then we had that break in market structure or shift in market structure within the narrative that the higher time frame is bullish, as we have been pressing into since Sunday. So yeah, this set up the low of the day using that Power 3 projection tool. Yeah, another beautiful layering effect to why we're able to navigate so effectively, and why Power 3, some of the basic things like Power 3 are so important to keep in mind. All right, let me good, I pointed out earlier, but the idea goes not down. The inversion for value gap you pointed out is working. Yeah, damn right. Shit. It better work. Things that I'm pointing out, they better work. I'm glad they are working out, so you can gain the experience. The breaker too that I've been pointing out works. Is that the central bank? Yeah. So there's central bank daily range, and then there's like these other things like the flout range, and then there's Asian range. Okay. Those are all projections depending on what the size of the ranges are, from Asia to flout to central bank dealers range. They have rules, which I'll leave you guys to go study. I gotta make y'all study something, right? Once you dig into that, you get the idea of the times that the flout, Asian range, and the central bank dealers range forms. And then you figure out also within the rules ICT teaches, what scenario promotes you to use what range. And you could see today was a flout type of vibe. Generally, for a rule of thumb, I most of the time use just the flout range. That's why you don't see the central bank dealers range thing in here. I rarely even just use Asia. I definitely use Asia for liquidity right? But yeah, so you take that range, you make a box around it, you copy and paste it below, then you copy and paste it once more, and then one more, and that 3 standard deviation, that's what it's called, that range, when you project it like that, it gives you a particular idea as far as where the high or the low of the day should form. So you get like a rough estimate as far as where it could go. And if the standard deviation, lines up with a PD array like it did here, which was the low here and the fair value gap I labeled, that sent price higher, you have a pretty strong likelihood that it's going to come down into that level or go up into that level if it's for bearishness. And then once you can get a shift in market structure, the narrative has already been set for the day. We already had the narrative set for the day before it even happened. We laid out contingencies talking about, if the low down here was violated, it'd go deeper. But that never happened, so we never paid too much attention to it and focused more on what the initial idea was, which is pushing price higher. Again, this is just like an extra added layer to what it is that we do. And how we're so accurate builds trust, because when certain things start to confirm, it becomes a wonderful, work of art. And so this the flout and Asia are a little bit different. Again, I'll let you go re-listen to that portion of I'm not sure if you've made it to that portion yet. Maybe you have, in the 2016 mentorship stuff. But I definitely will talk to you more on an intimate basis if you have went through that already. And of course, maybe if enough of you guys in my private community want to talk more about this idea, I can give you my thoughts. But otherwise, all the information for central bank dealers range, flout, and the Power 3 projection tool for catching the highs and lows of the day and the week. Obviously it's on his 2016 videos under the day trading section. It's not going to be for everybody also. Not really many people use this. Some that are heavily involved with Power 3 do, that like I am obsessed with Power 3, market maker models, and everything that I do I'm obsessed with. So, that's why I use what I use. Anything outside of it, I don't really use it. I have a lot of students that don't care about this, and they do just fine. I'm not 100% sure if students like my student Harley I showed earlier, I'm not sure if he uses this. I'll probably have to ask him. But yeah, I can't say it enough. He's amazing. Pretty much everybody in my private community is amazing. And, those students that are not quite where they're trying to get to, they know that they're on their way. They're well on their way. They just need some time and continued focus. And just keep showing up, and it'll happen for you. But yeah, maybe on Sunday, if I get enough participation interested in this, we will talk about it. And Tyler, let me know in DM if you've watched or how far you've gotten into that content. I know you got fairly deep into it, but the things that are prior to this are much more important. That's why I haven't really pointed it out. Obviously, it's super effective what I'm sharing here. It's very, very much a powerhouse tool. Very worth your time to dig into, but it's not something to get too stuck over. I think episode 11, month 4. Okay, yeah, we'll cross the flout range and navigation of the daily range in this regard once you get there. Okay, liquidity void. All right, perfect. But yeah, as always, you have probably more access to me than anybody else. So just let me know. Let me know if you have any issues with that stuff. Liquidity void too. I talked about liquidity void the other day. I think my student Fritz asked a question about it, and we talked about the difference between a volume imbalance and a liquidity void and a fair value gap. And I can go over that with you too if you weren't able to catch that video or catch it in the moment. So yeah, again, I do like this shift in market structure here. It does seem as though prices kind of wanted to stall out. We are inside the lunch hour, so there's a low here. I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to come down into that one more time. But again, if we're going to continue to run higher, my brother pointed out the equal highs up here. My eyes are definitely resting there. We got this order block. It may be used as the catalyst to push us up there. Once it gets up there, though, I'm not sure, how deep it's going to go. I can't gauge, whether price is going to want to run aggressively because there was no news today. It is Tuesday, so it looks like we've set the low of the week. We can get a rough estimate in terms of where price could eventually lead to. I like the fair value gap up here. It is pretty nice. Friday's high is also pretty deep into the standard deviation. I mean, if you could just observe things from this perspective, the open of the candles here, there was a small wick for this is a weekly depiction I'm going to talk about. So think of a weekly candle that encapsulates all this price delivery. Okay, so far the candle opened, left a wick above, came all the way down here at one point. It was a bold-faced bearish candle on the weekly chart, and now it came all the way back up here. Okay? And this whole movement down here is a wick. Okay, in terms of the weekly candle, weekly range delivery so far. Right? So that huge wick, it made a baby wick up here. So I am assuming that the open price here should get crossed through again if we do end up being bullish. The projection here from this low and this high pushes us all the way up above the high up here from Friday of last week. I mean, does that seem unreasonable for price to have opened up, declined, pulled people in, swept out the sell side here from Thursday, hit an opposing higher time frame PD array, set the low, aggressively displaced through this high? We're inside of a buy side sentiment on the higher time frame. DXY is still extremely bearish. Buy side liquidity in the form of the Friday's high, and then now this current week's high is available here for liquidity. The projection lines up pretty perfectly with both of those. And again, we're inside of a overall buy side market, that's interested in buys so far. For many reasons, right? I'll let you guys go watch Sunday's call to figure out all the intricate details if you haven't been able to watch that stuff. That call from last week, or this last Sunday, and the week before that, beautifully encapsulates why our adjustment took place from bearish to bullish. What led us to that, and why we are still to this moment confident in the fact that it's going to go higher. But yeah, it definitely pays to either watch replays of my Sunday calls before the week starts, or to be there on the Sunday's call, because the stuff that you get there is invaluable. It's one of the most important things is setting yourself up in preparation for what could take place and why. What you don't want to see, what you do want to see, how to determine those things, validation, invalidation, all kinds of stuff is taught in every Sunday. So if you missed the previous ones, just come back to this Sunday. And you'll probably want to stay for every Sunday call. I encourage you to do that because there's a lot you'll learn. I hope everything has made sense today, you guys. As always, I appreciate you spending time with me. I think it is going to be about that time, though. We've been here for 2 hours. We were able to identify many, many things, go through many, many, many things. And so I hope at a minimum you learned something. I hope you got encouraged by seeing how price has delivered today, how we navigated price. I hope that, calls like this and other calls where there's a massive amount of value getting given to you allows you to, really start to develop a trust for what it is we do here. And most importantly, I hope you have a good time being here, and if there's ever anything you want me to talk more about, just let me know in the chat or in the comments of any video. I hope to see you guys here on Sunday. I will be making updates in the free Discord, and in my private community we will be live yet again, as always, every single day for the rest of the week up until Saturday, and then we'll be back to it on Sunday. Okay, so yeah, with that being said, hope you guys got value. Everything is delivering to script, so we're going to stick to the overall idea that we've had for price to continue going higher. My brother pointed out these equal highs. I'll leave you with that to watch. Watch this order block. Let's see if that can lead us up into this level. Or is it going to decline, dig a little deeper into the bullish breaker, then go? Or, if those don't work out, is price going to invalidate this bullish breaker we've identified and then just start smashing lower, maybe drag DXY higher in the process? Until that's proven, we're not going to stick to that for too long or spend too much time there. We're going to stick to trying to observe how price is going to deliver here, continuing to the buy side, because that's what the higher time frame says. All right. So yeah, with that being said, I appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share with friends that you think can get value or add to the conversation. And I will see y'all Sunday here on YouTube, and tomorrow and the rest of the week in my private community. But yeah, peace and love, you guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.